So, I grew up in Hoopa. Like, that's where my home was, went to school, all that shit. But I also grew up, like, it's just all over the area, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like in a city where if you grew up somewhere, that neighborhood is, like, where you stayed, you know what I mean? Like, not all the time, but, you know, that's where you fucking lived. Anyway, but technically the whole city would be your home, right? Well, the whole countryside of Humboldt County in this little area, this little corner of the world, like, that's my home, all of it. So in one of those towns, so I feel like all the river towns I kind of like grew up in, right? So not all of them, most of them. Like, so there's Willow Creek, right, that you first come into from Eureka Arcade Way, and then you have Hoopa, my town, where I grew up. And then you keep on going down the river, and you got Witchpack, and that's very, very tiny. I couldn't even call it a town. And then you keep going further down the river. No, you go up the river from there because it forks. The river forks at Witchpack, and then the left one goes even further downriver to some old villages from way back in the day. And then to the right, you go upriver and you find Orleans, and that's where I feel like I actually grew up. I say I grew up in places like, say, Box Camp. Like, that's this place in the mountains just because I went there a lot as a kid. So, man, I grew up there. Like, I've been going there since I was a kid. I still go there as a grown man. And, no, but Orleans and Hoopa are, like, the two towns that I actually, like, spent nights in and ate, worked, everything. You know, that's my, so it's kind of like one of my hometowns I grew up in. And plus, it's the hometown of, my only girlfriend in my life, you know, so there's like a lot of memories tied up for me in this little place. A lot, like, I could tell a lot of stories about Orleans. You know, one day I think I should just sit down and write that down, like, just for me, like, all this shit that happened here, like, good and bad, you know, but that's where I'm cruising right now today, just because I hadn't been here in a while. Usually I only come up here when I have a reason, you know, like, I used to work here, I don't work anymore. I used to go pot up here. But I had family. I still do have family here, and that's why I grew up here. Like, my auntie Noreen was her name. She fought fire with my dad, and she was older. Like, and anyway, she always threw parties and dinners, the best ones, at her house and stuff. And we'd come and stay, and we'd hang out for like all day. And my uncle Michael, he was in the army. So whenever he came home, like a career army guy. So whenever he came home, he stayed in Orleans, and we would come stay with him and stuff because he's our uncle, and it's the only time we like get to see him whenever he was on leave and shit. So that was like when we were kids, and we'd come up here and we'd get our Christmas trees and everything, you know. We'd come with holidays, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, fucking Halloween. And so for me, there is a lot of sentiment tied up with this tiny itty-bitty town of Orleans. And on top of that, when I finally grew up in that town, I was growing up in that town. The whole time I had no idea that the girl who I would like fall in love with was like growing up there too. So it's kind of crazy. Anyway, then I grew up, went to high school, and then I met a girl when I was 14, and we ended up getting together when I was 15. And breaking up when we were 17. But what happened in those 2 little years, in that time we were together, I hate to admit it, but it really it had a good bit to do with shaping how I think and how I live and how I act and stuff like that. Like, breakups happen, especially as a teenager and stuff. I mean, I can say until I'm blue in the face that shouldn't have happened. You know, it's fucked up. Like, and if it did happen, it should not have went down like that. Like, and we're not gonna get too much into talking about. I feel like a lot of this video diaries like mentions earlier, which is like I shouldn't do. I'll probably edit that bit out. No, I have to, because that also is a huge part of why I feel so connected to Orleans. Anyway, my arm is getting tired from holding this up, so I'm gonna get a couple shots of my view going this way. TB continue.